Hello, boys and girls. So today you are going to practice finding area of more irregular shapes. Okay. So by this time you have already completed the packet of irregular shapes, right? But today is just more practice of how to find the area of irregular shapes or shapes that are not a perfect rectangle. Okay. So we have 4 problems here that we're going to try to solve. And make sure you have grid paper before you start. So go ahead and find grid paper. I'm going to use this grid paper. It is not the same grid paper as you, but this was the only one I found. And this is a little bit smaller than your grid size, but the strategy is still the same, okay? I'm recording this at home, and that's the only one I found at home. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the example up here. Now, there are 2 ways you can actually solve for area in irregular shapes. One way is to multiply the way they have shown you over here, okay? So here's your original shape. There's 7 meters on this side, 3 meters, 4 meters going down, 2 meters this way, 3 meters going down, and 5 meters at the way bottom. So the more traditional way of doing this is to split it into 2 rectangles, just like they show here. And then they find the area of this top part first, and then they find the area at the bottom, and then they add it, okay? It's very similar to the packet that you solved. However, the problem in 3rd grade that we've seen is sometimes kids make a mistake of what numbers to multiply. You see this 7 over here? The 7 belongs to both this rectangle and the bottom rectangle. So you have to be very careful when you multiply the length and the width of this top rectangle. It would actually be a 3 times 4, wouldn't it? But sometimes kids make the mistake and they multiply 3 times 7 because they see the 7 right there, okay? And same with down here. This would be a 3 times 5, this blue rectangle. But again, sometimes kids make mistakes and they might multiply 3 times 2 and so on. 2 is not the length of the whole entire side. 2 is just this little bit over here. So when you multiply length and width, you got to make sure you multiply the whole entire length of that rectangle and the whole entire width. Okay, so you will get it though, as the more you practice, and when you get older, you'll be able to see those numbers and be careful of those mistakes. But in the meantime, we're actually going to recreate this shape on grid paper, and then we're going to count the squares so that we eliminate any chance of making a mistake. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do the first one, and I'm taking it really slow. I'm going to show you how to recreate this shape on grid paper. And then you're going to do the same. You can pause this video at any time you want and recreate it, and you can always go back and rewatch it as well, okay? So number 1, I'm going to label number 1 over here because then I can keep track of which problem I'm solving. If you look at, they have given you the length of every side, right? Sometimes they don't give you the length of every side, but that's okay. You have still enough information to find the length of every side. But lucky for you, looks like they've given you every length, so which is even more easier. So here we go. This side has 5 centimeters of length, right? 5 centimeters long. So if I drew it, I'm going to pretend each one of these squares is a centimeter. So I would need 5 squares. Now, one thing you got to remember is you got to always outline the squares. Go on the line of the grid, not in between squares, okay? So here we go. I'm going to count 5 squares and go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here's the outline of 5 squares. Okay, 5 squares. I outlined it. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. If I can get any closer. There we go. So 5, it's 5 over there. Now I have 5 squares over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now going across, they have 10 squares. It seems like going across, right? So I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to count 10 squares, including this one. Don't count from here. You're going to include that and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 squares out. And then I'm going to outline that again. See how I'm on the lines? I haven't cut across any squares, and you got to please be careful of that. Don't cut across squares and you're going to count it wrong. And make sure it's 10 going across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, did I do too many? It seems like I have 11, yeah. See, I made sure